everybody, I am Jarrett Ross, the Genie Vlogger, and welcome back to another Professional Genealogist Reacts. On today's video, I will be reacting to two videos by Oriental Pearl. One is called My DNA Ancestry Results Are Really Weird, and the second is Why Asians Shouldn't Take DNA Ancestry Tests. The reason why I'm reacting to two is because both of these videos are just shorts, so only a minute each, and they're both on two different people, one on Oriental Pearl herself, and then the other through her husband, who is Japanese. So we're gonna see different results. I'm not sure who they tested with, but I'm assuming it's Ancestry based on both of their titles, including the words DNA Ancestry Tests. But sometimes people use that and they mean the other tests. I am familiar with this channel, but I have no idea what her ancestry is, other than it's probably some type of European. I know that she came from America, so we could see a hodgepodge of all sorts of stuff. For her husband being Asian and, from what I understand, being Japanese, we're probably obviously going to see Japanese, but we could possibly see Korean or maybe other things as well. But one thing I always mention with every review of Asian DNA results is if they took an Asian-based DNA test, such as 23-Mofang or Weijing, those results probably going to be much more nuanced. I doubt that's what they're going to take, but something to suggest, especially with them living in Japan, I believe. Or at least they're living in Asia. I don't remember where they live now. Enough talking, let's jump into it.
Everybody has been calling me Russian for the longest time, so now we're gonna find out if I actually am Russian or not.
I can definitely see her possibly being Russian, and I would even say that if we are expecting any sort of Russian, it may not read as Russian itself, but it may end up reading as Eastern European, or maybe even a mixture of Balkan, Baltic, and Eastern European. But of course, there could be readings of specifically Russian.
What I know about my ancestry already is that it's gonna be mostly German and French is what I expect to get. What I would be surprised to see is Russian.
Okay.
Or British. All right.
I will not be surprised for her to get any sort of British or Irish or Scottish, especially knowing if she's expecting French or German. French and German are both part of that Northwestern European group that lumps in with a lot of Scandinavian countries as well as the British Isles. So it's very common for people that don't even know about having certain ancestries like British, but then being part of that Northwestern European group and thus getting these readings of British, even though maybe all they knew was French and German. And then the other thing is if she is coming from a German ancestry, most especially an Eastern German ancestry, that does correlate a lot with the Eastern European countries and the Baltics and the Balkans and Russia. And so she may end up getting small percentages of those readings that may be more indicative of her German ancestry than actual Russian ancestry. But it could go either way until confirmed through genealogy.
Overview.
Okay.
Wait, whoa. What? No. Okay. View, full estimate. Oh my gosh.
Oh, your English.
Is this correct?
Okay. Not too surprising. Is that MyHeritage? That's who they tested on, isn't it? It's MyHeritage. And then look, 8,558 matches. English, Irish, Scottish, Welsh, coming in at 71.4% total. So, you know, that Northwestern European ancestry, it can just be like that. But I would also say if she hasn't done her genealogy or family tree, very possible that once she builds out her family tree, she may find actual ancestry tracing to these areas.
I'm shocked. And 31% Irish, well.
Oh, wow, we're getting a lot of stuff here. We're getting the 13% East European, so that could be the Russian. And at 13%, that would be the equivalent of about a great-grandparent. So if she built out her entire family tree and looked at all of her great-grandparents, she then may be able to find the ancestor that came from Russia, or at least what's representing this East European. But then getting that 5.8% Balkan reading tied in with that Eastern European might be able to lump both of those together, although, of course, we could could be getting some percentages of those coming from both mom and dad's side for her. But then 3.9% Ashkenazi Jewish is really interesting, and that's going to be the equivalent of about a second or third great grandparent, really leaning more towards the third great grandparent, because a second great grandparent you expect about 6.25% DNA or so, and then with a third great grandparent you're going to expect a 3 point whatever percentage. So at 3.9%, that may be where she would find a Jewish ancestor. And of course we get some more interesting stuff with that Middle Eastern 2% and Mesoamerican and Andean at 0.9%, because especially with that Mesoamerican and Andean, even though it's a very small percentage, it is very different continentally from everything else, because that usually ties in with East Asian populations, and she doesn't have any of that. So it's not something that we can kind of say, oh, this may be where it's coming from. So that may be representative of actual Native American ancestry, but being so small, it could also just be representative of some sort of a misread or some difficulty in reading the DNA.
Oh, that's like 70% Irish and British.
What's up?
And notice no German or French readings here. And part of this also has to do with understanding what they define on each website. I don't remember how MyHeritage defines all of their population groups. It's going to change soon once they actually fully release the update on the admixture percentages that they've been promising forever. But knowing that she's expecting a German or French ancestry and instead she's getting all of this, it does kind of make sense. But the biggest question really is how much does she actually know about her ancestry? Because a lot of people I do find will just know like one or two lines and then think that's their entire ancestry, when in reality they have a large hodgepodge of different ancestries, especially people coming from countries that have very mixed populations. That, you know, if your family's been in the Americas, especially like the US or Canada, for hundreds of years, then you've had lots of different European populations likely mixing together to make your ancestry. And so that may be the thing, is that she's coming from, you know, a decently deep American ancestry where she's just had a lot of mixture in her family history from different groups marrying into each other.
Germany.
Well, yeah, good point, because I've been told all my life that I'm German. We have a German last name too. So unless my dad's dad is not his real dad, then...
Last names do not actually equate to what your genetic ancestry is going to be, because a lot of last names were adopted in the 1800s. And so depending on where that family was living, especially if they think they're German and they have a German last name, well, maybe that paternal line of hers is actually Jewish, and that's why they have a German last name, because a lot of Jews obviously took German style last names. So maybe that's why that's the case. But obviously, you know, she's saying her dad's dad is not, you know, might not be the actual ancestor. That's also a possibility. But a bigger thing is really, how much does she know about her ancestry truly? Or is it just these small little story that, you know, oh, dad said it was German. All right, so we finished the first short, and you know, quick, to the point, very interesting in terms of a mixture, and honestly the type of admixture I think of when I think of deep American roots, at least in what I've seen for a lot of families, where they get this large mixture of various things. The only one of those readings I didn't really talk about was the Middle Eastern at 2%, which I think was a very interesting reading. I think it's very possible that it could be representative of actual Middle Eastern ancestry. But with all of that said, if these are the MyHeritage tests that I think they are, I didn't see the logo anywhere, but I'm pretty sure they are. MyHeritage is notorious for having the admixture that people hate on the most. It's the admixture I hear more than any other sites where people will say, this does not match up to what I know about my family tree. So with MyHeritage, sometimes there's kind of a larger range of what may be a misread or miscalculated in some way. Okay, now let's jump into her husband's video.
He's so nervous. They put an Asian warning.
No.
Asian people, you might be disappointed in your results.
Okay, it is MyHeritage.
Okay. Inuit. What was it? Okay. Oh.
What?
Inuit. Oh,
East
yeah.
European. Interesting.
East European.
I
Yes.
don't counts. I don't know if that counts.
Yes.
But
I
now
don't know
what
about
else?
that.
Europe. I'm European.
So you're white.
Yes, part of.
Call your
Yes.
dad.
Yes.
The typical call your dad.
いや、親父、俺はヨーロピアンだったみたい。
何言ってんだよ。
俺の血はヨーロッパの血が入ってる。
入ってねえよ、そんなのは。
いやいやいや。
Okay, so that one, not as much to talk about, but very interesting results. Mostly Japanese. That small percentage of Inuit, 1.8%, which I think may just be a misread of Japanese or just a general East Asian, I think would be a better way to say it. But it's very possible that maybe he does have Inuit ancestry. And at 1.8%, then, you know, we're looking at maybe third, fourth great grandparent, maybe fifth great grandparent or a sixth great grandparent, but about that range, which if that is the case, we're looking at someone that could be born as maybe as early as like the late 1600s and as recent as the early 1800s. So that's if it is true, but I think more than likely it is part of just his Asian ancestry that's being misread by MyHeritage. But the Eastern European is a different case. At 0.8%, it is a trace result. So kind of similar to what we were talking about with her Indigenous American, where it's a small percentage and that means it's a trace result, which doesn't mean that it's not true. It just means that we're not as confident that it is true. There's a higher probability that it may be a misread of some sort. But when we look at these to analyze it, we have to consider a lot of different aspects to understand where our confidence truly lies with it. And one of the other things to consider is, where is that lying regionally? And similar to what we had for her having that Native American, which didn't correlate to really anything that we would typically expect, like an East Asian ancestry, for him having this Eastern European, it's the same thing where we don't really see that as common. Now, Eastern European, obviously we are getting into sort of Asia, and especially considering how Russia stretches, you know, so far, it's you know, massive, and there could possibly be some sort of connection between Eastern Europe and his ancestry that is causing that sort of a misread. But it could very well represent actual Eastern European ancestry. And so having that continental difference just brings our confidence up a bit. Now, other things we can use for gauging what our confidence will be in certain readings, if they had a white paper they released, we could use that, especially the precision and recall numbers. But unfortunately, MyHeritage does not have one released, so we can't use it. And just to talk about the Japanese part of things, I think it would still be interesting for him to take one of the Asian-based DNA tests like 23 Mafong or Weijin or one of the others, because I know there are others around as well. I imagine he would get better, more nuanced results. But overall, kind of fun, and maybe I need to do more reactions to shorts and stuff, have a video with multiple of them. So let me know in the comments below if you'd like that. And if you enjoyed this reaction and would like to see more reactions that I've done, be sure to check out this video right here. Thank you to my Patreon patrons and YouTube members.